Hey guys, Coach Coda here from Icons Rugby. Today we're going to talk about time priority, but in its relation to training for a rugby player. So the biggest thing we see here at Icons is players come and go and they basically all want to know how they make it. So what do they want? Okay, they want pro rugby. Okay, cool. So where does that actually sit in their time priority? Now if you base it on the quantity of time, it probably sits third. Now, things that get more time than rugby are traditionally work, study, potentially family or religion. It normally sits around third. Okay, cool. But we're being told that this is the number one thing they want. Now, quality of time. Where does that normally sit for rugby? Well, you'd think that when you go to rugby, you're going to put in all your effort, so it sits pretty high. So the quality of that time is a 1, maybe a 2. Okay, if it's any less, it means like things like study. A lot of people will study for 3 hours and really only get about 30 minutes of work done. You go to work for 8 hours and I guarantee you spend probably half your time on Facebook or Instagram, so you're probably only really productive for 4. Out of that 4, you might only really get 2 hours of real work done. Okay, that's how you judge your quality. What's your quality of that time that you're spending there? Now, what is it they want? They want pro rugby. Okay, well the next question we've got to ask, everyone asks, is, well, how do I do that? But for us, that's probably not the next question. Because realistically, time priority, the how is done in the training. So is it really more training that you need? Do you need more time to rugby, more of this, more of that? Not really. All you've got to do is get clarity. Okay? Now, clarity comes from, for us, the priority. Okay? How much is the what you want, pro rugby, a priority in your life? Now the easiest way to do this is you can do a simple ranking system. Okay? Write down all the things that mean something to you, put them in your life. Now where rugby sits, rugby will sit here or here for most people. Now how you do your time from there is basically what you need to redo is redo this whole structure. What I want you to do is I want you to start at 1. What is the most important thing to you? Let's say family. Cool. Now in the pool of things that you've got going on, you've got rugby, work, relationships, study, friends, whatever it could be. Second most important thing is rugby. Now, this is the key. Does rugby help, influence, affect in a positive manner your family? Well, yes it does, because it can create a career, it creates community, it creates values, teaches a lot of things. Sweet, it earns the right to go to number 2. Now, next thing, let's look at work. Does work help your family? Well, yes, it provides income, pays bills, does all that kind of stuff. Sweet, it then earns the right to move down the ladder to number 2. Does work help rugby? Well, yes, it provides an income, it provides for rehab, prehab, training mechanisms, you know, all the apparel you need, stuff like that. Sweet, it earns the right to get into number 3. Cool. Now let's look at study. Does study help your family? Yeah, it does. It basically creates a longer, better knowledge base. You can move down your career. Cool. Does study help your rugby? Well, this is where it kind of gets hard. If it's related to work, then it pays the bills, it provides more income, so it goes there. Okay, so it can move down to number 4. Now let's say that you get a call from your mate who wants you to play in a social volleyball team on a Monday night. You don't have training on that night, so you're free for that time. Let's see how it goes. Does it help your family? Well, let's say 2 of your cousins play in the same team. So you're spending some time there. So it moves down the list. Does it help your rugby? Well, you could probably vouch for it and say that the skills help somewhere and it helps you develop and this and that. But to be honest, in a busy world with what you've got going on and how you're stealing time, everything you do steals time away from your priority system. You should spend all waking hours with your family. Okay? Now, you need rugby. Rugby helps with family, so it earns some time away from family. Work helps with rugby, helps with family, so it takes time away from the family. Study helps with work, helps with rugby, helps with family, so it takes time away. Volleyball, extracurricular activities, getting on the piss with the boys or something like that might help with the family for the social interaction, but also if it doesn't help here, it's thrown back out. It's not worth your time. You are sacrificing hours for negative results. Where if those same hours, why don't you go spend it with your family? Instead of doing something that is going to take away, why don't you do something that adds to? Maybe put another hour into study, another hour into rugby, another hour into work. Something that is benefiting. These are all pluses, and stuff over here is all minuses. Does that make sense, guys? It's a real common factor to be able to steal time where you think, oh, that's just a little bit social, I like that, it's helping my family. But at the end of the day, you are taking time away from your family. If you changed your whole perspective around time prioritization, my number one thing, let's say it's rugby. Anything that steals time away from rugby that does not benefit in a positive manner, goes. Cut it. Be gone. Okay? So that's a pretty clear and simple thing to do. Really hard to do. A few of you will find that it will shake things up a little bit, but it's a good exercise to do. Now, my final point around time prioritization is you really need to get clear on what this means to you. Okay? This could be, rugby could come in and you might give it 24 months of full-time commitment. So that means for your family commitment, this number 2 might work to number 1. Okay? So basically, for 24 months, you look to commit all your time to rugby. So in your 12-hour day, family might get an hour a day or 2 hours a day. What you do is you take half of that time. So let's say your family gets 2 hours time, you give an hour and you put it back into rugby. Let's say work, you can get 30 minutes. From that 30 minutes, you invest that into rugby. Study, let's drop this down 30 minutes a day. Put that into rugby. All of a sudden, for the next 24 months, you've created 2 hours of time a day that compounds over and over and over and over and over again. Now, can anyone find 2 hours in a day? I fucking bet you can. Okay? So my challenge to you guys is how can you find 2 hours a day to put into your rugby? Now, rugby doesn't have to be training. It doesn't have to be, physically putting exertion out. It could be something as simple as an hour of stretching and an hour of meditation. This could be done before you go to sleep, as soon as you wake up. How can you find 2 hours a day to invest into your rugby future?